Welcome, everybody, to Films and Fermentation, episode 81. This is our Halloween special. I paused there for a second, Mike. I didn't know if you had something on the soundboard.
No.
Okay. That's right. We are. Welcome. That's right. We are Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
We're three friends who like to talk shit about movies while getting shit-faced. In this episode, we celebrate Halloween by taking a look at the history of the universal monsters of the 1930s and 40s. And we hypothesize what the dark universe would have looked like had Universal asked us for our casting opinions. So to help us in this endeavor, we solicited the help of an expert on the topic, Wayne G. from the Recasted 2.0 podcast. Wayne, how are you?
Wayne!
Welcome, Wayne.
Welcome,
Hey,
Wayne.
thanks for having me on the show. I'm doing great, and I'm excited to be on the show. And anytime somebody wants to do some sort of recasting, I love going on there and giving my 2 cents, because the worst thing in the world is listening to somebody recast something and think, man, I hate every one of these picks.
That's why I appreciated your opinion of our Ghostbusters episode when we sent you that recording.
Oh, absolutely. And I listened to that one, and I took it super serious, and I was listening to everybody's picks, and I was really trying to analyze them. Like, all right, who's going to be good in this one?
So if you want to tell everybody a little bit about your show and where they can find you and any like social media links you have or anything.
Yeah, absolutely. So my show is Recasted 2.0, and what we do is we take movies that are at least 20 years old, and we give them modern day cast with modern actors and actresses. And then my co-host and I, or a guest, if we have a guest on, we'll put those casts out on social media for a vote. Like, whose cast would you prefer if this was actually remade? And it's been a lot of fun. We've done A Few Good Men. We've done Armageddon. We most recently did the movie Philadelphia with Tom Hanks, although we didn't recast it with Tom Hanks. One of our rules is that you can't have an original actor. You can find the podcast on anywhere you listen to podcasts. I mean, from Google Podcasts to Good Pods, which I love Good Pods, by the way. Highly recommend them.
Yeah, we're on there too.
And social media-wise, you can find us on Facebook. We have at Recasted Podcast. We have a public group called All Things Movies. Anybody can join and just talk movies and television. And we are on Twitter at Recasted Podcast. That's where the bulk of our interaction is. And if you feel like checking out the website, it is www.recastedpodcast.com. We have a store on there. Right now, it's very heavy with sports movie merchandise. So if you guys like Alvin Mack or Latimer from the program, we have their jersey T-shirts on for sale.
Yeah, I have to say, Twitter is probably where I do most of the interaction now. When we first started the podcast, we were on Instagram and Facebook and not Twitter. And it was a struggle to try to get an audience back then. And then once we joined Twitter, man, it kind of blew up. You know,
and I'm still pushing us through on MySpace. I just keep putting it out there, but for some reason,
Tom's the only guy listening.
I know. Damn it.
So
give me a thumbs up, though.
He's So thanks for joining us tonight, Wayne.
Oh, glad to be here.
Yeah, so don't forget to drop us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links. Like Wayne said about Recasted 2.0, we are also on Good Pods, Google Pods, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it, we're probably out there. This episode is brought to you by Dubby. Dubby is an all-natural energy drink. It uses a patented all-natural coffee cherry extract to help fuel you. This ingredient is what gives Dubby its laser focus and fast reflexes, making it perfect for gamers everywhere. Dubby contains important amino acids and vitamins that canned energy drinks simply don't have. Dubby never uses fillers or artificial colors. It's a sugar-free and keto-friendly alternative energy drink. Choose from flavors such as Dragonade, Beach and Peach, and Galaxy Grenade. Guaranteed to boost energy without giving you the jitters. Go to w.gg to order today. Use the promo code FILMSFERMENT and receive 10% off every order every time. Dubby, be better. All right. Dubby.gg. All right. Gentlemen, what are we drinking this evening? Speaking of drinks, I think I'm going to go first.
Cool.
So, I told you guys last week, since we were doing a monster-themed episode, that I was going to go out and get one of my favorite drinks and have it again on the show. And I bought the wrong thing by accident, but that's okay. So this is from Valenzano Family Winery right here in New Jersey. It's Jersey Devil wine. You can see it there. So the one I had the last time I drank this was their port wine, which was 19% alcohol by volume. And I don't know if you guys remember, but I drank the whole bottle during that show, and it was a pretty interesting ending.
It was a rough
So
show.
yeah, so I bought the wrong one. This one is their batch number 3, which is an apple cider wine blended with maple syrup, cinnamon, and aged in bourbon barrels. So it's a good wine, even though it's the wrong one. And this one it's weaker. It's only 15% alcohol by volume.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mike, what do you got going on?
I am drinking Honor Fest from Honor Brewing Company from Alexandria, Virginia. It is a 6% by volume Oktoberfest lager. Got a nice little girl on there. Cheers.
I am continuing my Elysian? Yeah. Punkachino. Punkachino coffee pumpkin ale. It is a pumpkin ale with an attitude of a world-weary barista. Punkachino packs a short shot of Stumptown coffee in your pint with just a shake of cinnamon and nutmeg. Contains lactose. So definitely not for some people out there, Leo.
Yeah.
It's 6% alcohol by volume.
So I'm taking it.
Let's crack this bad boy
You're
open.
the one that left 3 of them in my house this weekend.
Who? Kev? Yeah, Kev is the one that left beer. I took my beer home.
Yeah, no, I left beer.
Wayne, are you joining us in drinks this evening?
So I hate to be the square, but I am actually a soda-holic, but I am drinking my favorite vintage, which is Coke Zero. And
I told
Wayne's our D-Day.
Yeah, that's fine. I told Wayne, I said,
Designated
you know,
Dracula.
it's our gimmick, but don't feel obligated to join in because we kind of get off the rails sometimes. So
no, I totally would. So when I drink, I actually get to be really, really fun. And I tell people I'm antisocial, and so if you put me in like a social setting, I kind of pick the table in the corner and don't talk to anybody. But after a few drinks, I go around, I'm talking to everybody. And I said it'd be great to do that, but little glimpse into my personal life, just getting over a gout flare up, and so alcohol can kind of get that kicking back in. I don't want that to happen.
Yeah. That's cool, man. It's all right.
Yeah.
I usually start crying by the end of the show. So,
Okay.
Mike, you have a history lesson for us, sir?
This day in film history. This day in film history in 1978, Halloween, directed by John Carpenter, starring Donald Pleasance and Jamie Lee Curtis, and her film debut is released.
I was 1 year old when this movie came out.
I was 4.
But that doesn't mean I haven't seen it. It is definitely a horror classic, a Halloween classic, and you guys already know my feelings about John Carpenter, so you would know that this is a movie I adore.
They just released Halloween Ends, and has anybody seen it?
No, because I stick to the original ones. Because some of the newer ones are trash. So.
I was just going to say I didn't want to get anybody to click off, in the Halloween episode here. But I don't really love John Carpenter. I think he's one of the more overrated directors.
Oh my God!
I love In the Mouth of Madness.
Well, it was good having you on there, Wayne.
Yeah, it was good having you on the show. Thanks for joining us. We did an episode. It was our 50th episode, actually. We did our Mount Rushmore Awards. So we picked our 4 directors, actors, actresses, etc. And John Carpenter was one of my directors on the mountains. Yes, I am a fan of John Carpenter. I like cheesy, campy horror and stuff like that. So it's something that appeals to me. So, Mike, what's your fun drink fact this evening?
Well, to start off, today is National American Beer Day. So drink your American beers.
As I drink wine.
Yes, I know. That's not the one. Where the hell to go? There it went.
This is all right.
Yeah. So I got some notes from last show. Good pod rankings. We kind of stayed a little level this week. We didn't really jump up too much on the charts, so there's not much to really report there. I was I was playing heavily on Twitter to try to get people to listen to the last episode to get us up to that #1 slot on the TV review chart, but it didn't happen. I think it's because our last episode was kind of niche. Like, not everybody's interested in, Werewolf by Night, but
Hey, we need more Ted in our lives.
but that being said, it was a fun episode, and I thought it was a good appetizer for tonight's episode, since it was an homage to these old, Universal horror films. So our synopsis, according to Glip, even though we didn't do this on Glip last week, we used Zoom for it. I was able to upload the recording to Glip so we can get my synopsis from them. So Wayne, this program we use called Glip, very similar to Zoom. At the end of the program, after it finishes processing the video file, it gives you a synopsis of the show that you can use for highlights. But the synopsis is always really bizarre, like out of sync, and kind of picks moments out that are so out of context. It's like, what the fuck? So we've kind of tended to try to make that like a part of our show now because it's usually pretty funny. So the synopsis, according to Glip from last week, which was our Werewolf by Night episode, the participants dress up Shaun of the Dead, discuss werewolves and man-things, Columbia Records and penny compact discs, smoking bourbon, and more Ted in their lives.
True enough.
And if you've listened to the episode, some of that might make sense. But mostly it's very, very out of context.
Especially my smoking bourbon.
You're smoking bourbon, yeah. Smoking, and more Ted in our lives. All
We all
right.
need more Ted in our lives.
We all need more Ted in our lives.
Did
you see Werewolf by Night?
I did not. No, I was thinking of Ted Lasso.
Oh, okay. No, so Werewolf by Night's a Disney Plus MCU special presentation. It's like a 55-minute short film, and it's based on a MCU property, but it's filmed to look like one of the old Universal monster movies, and has a very, very, very classic look to it. It's in black and white, but they introduce a character in it called the Man Thing, and the Man Thing is this giant, like, swamp creature, but his real name is Ted. And he ended up being like the most fun character in the show. So we wanted some more Ted in our lives. But Glip kind of took that the wrong way. So Kev, you want to take it from here? Our main segment is brought to you by Newsly.
Newsly is an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android. It picks up the most trending articles on the web on topics you choose at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice. For the first time ever, the entire web becomes listenable all in one place. Follow any topic from sports, tech, business, science, even Bitcoin. It will find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud. And they have a podcast as well. Explore trending podcasts from over 80 countries. Our podcast is there too. Download and use Newsly for free now from www.newsly.me or from the link in the description and use the promo code ANDFERMENT, that's ANDFERMENT, to receive a 1-month free premium subscription. Stop scrolling, start listening.
There's it! Dummy!
All right. So tonight's main segment, as we said before, is a very brief history of Universal movie monsters. That would be Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy, etc. And then we're going to spend some time recasting those iconic characters for a modern day version of what Universal was trying to start a few years ago with the Dark Universe, with the Mummy starring Tom Cruise, but kind of failed in their experiment.
Kind of failed
a little bit. So the Universal monster movies actually started in the 1920s with a couple silent films that starred Lon Chaney, who was known as the Man of 1,000 Faces. He did a film called The Phantom of the Opera, which, if you're unsure of that, is based on the Phantom of the Opera. He also did another film called The Hunchback of Notre Dame, in which he played the Hunchback Quasimodo. Those films were very successful and gave birth to the 1930s when, the talkies started taking over and Universal decided that they were going to grow their, monster menagerie. And so in 1931, they released Dracula, starring Bela Lugosi. How many of you have watched this or have seen it recently? I know, Kev, you've been rewatching them, right?
Yeah, I got everything but The Bride of Frankenstein, so I got them all.
I've seen them all and watched a few of them recently lately.
So
I've
they're
seen
all
a handful of clips.
a handful of clips. Yeah, and I think like most people probably have seen a handful of clips. I think they're the thing about the Universal movie monsters is they've become the icons that represent Halloween. So when you see like Halloween decorations of Dracula and Frankenstein's monster, it's it's Bela Lugosi, it's Boris Karloff, it's their likenesses that you're seeing in those decorations. I rewatched recently Dracula and Frankenstein, and I was pleasantly surprised because I forgot how short they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dracula was an hour and 10 minutes, and
Mhm.
Frankenstein was an hour and 9 minutes, which is crazy because I also watched the Kenneth Branagh version of Frankenstein recently, and that was like 4.5 hours. and probably not as good as the Boris Karloff one.
Ooh.
So 1931, they released Dracula with Bela Lugosi. Bela Lugosi, unfortunately, would go on to be typecast in many roles that were very similar to Dracula because of how popular he was in this role. Dracula led to Frankenstein, which came out in 1932. Frankenstein is one of the earliest films to make over $1 million at the box office. And that's saying something when you figure it came out in 1932. It also spawned a lot of sequels. So did Dracula, and so did many of the other films. I think Bride of Frankenstein is probably the most popular of the sequels, even though the bride only appears in 4 minutes of actual screen time at the very end of the film. From there, we get The Mummy, which comes out in 1932 as well. That also stars Boris Karloff. He plays the monster in Frankenstein and the mummy in The Mummy. In 1940s, we have a return here to some of these original IPs as they start making a lot of the sequels to the Dracula and Frankenstein franchises. But we also have the introduction of Lon Chaney Jr., son of the Man of a Thousand Faces, who would go on to play the Wolfman in 1941. Larry Talbot, the ill-fated main character who's bitten by a werewolf, played by Bela Lugosi. And it's another one of the classics. And then in the 1950s, they started to kind of run out of steam. This is when Abbott and Costello started doing their Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein and Abbott and Costello Meet Dracula movies, and the monsters became part of the punchline of these comedy films. The last major success they had was The Creature from the Black Lagoon, which came out in 1954, which is my personal favorite of all the Universal movie monsters. But not one that we decided to recast tonight because we've kind of decided, beforehand that the only person who could play a half man, half fish nowadays is Doug Jones, seeing as he has already played a half man, half fish 3 times. So that is just a little bit of the history of the Universal movie monsters. The legacy being that they are the, basically the representations of Halloween.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. So you guys, anything to add? Anything to say? Kev, what do you think about? Because I know you said you rewatched all of them. What do you thought about them so far?
So the last one I rewatched was The Mummy. That was last night. Last night or the night before? I forget. The night before. And I was kind of deflated after watching The Wolfman, and that was actually really exciting. The Invisible Man was, oddly interesting. The Mummy was just disappointing. It was not horrific at all. You barely see a mummy. You barely see the mummy do anything as the mummy. He comes back. He's reincarnate. He's Imhotep, and it's essentially just a mystical love story.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which is essentially what the Brendan Fraser mummy was, but it just was a lot more entertaining.
There was a lot more entertainment. There was a lot more action.
So I got introduced to Universal Monsters from my dad because they were his favorite movies growing up. I bought him the box set for his birthday one year, and it had every single movie, including the sequels, on it. So I've seen these before, but I watched relatively recently just because it's been a while. And the Dracula one, I forgot how like strange Dracula was. Like it's kind of, it's only an hour and 10 minutes. So I mean, they get right into the action. Like you immediately meet Dracula, you meet Renfield. He takes Renfield over and makes him his servant. He goes to England. He meets Mina. He falls in love with her. Tries to turn her into a vampire. Gets killed by Van Helsing. Credits. I mean, like that is the whole movie in a nutshell.
Pretty
So
much.
I was a little like, I was like, oh, okay, it's okay. So then I watched the Frankenstein one again, and Frankenstein one was a lot better. I enjoyed the Frankenstein film, except for the end when he throws Dr. Frankenstein off the top of the windmill, and it's the worst case of that's obviously a dummy as I've ever seen in any film. Like it's just this body flopping all over the place as it's falling off the building.
But it is the 30s.
Yes, I know, but still, you know. I
Come
mean,
on.
come on. They in the 1920s they had Nosferatu and Metropolis. They had some pretty good special effects in those films for being silent films. I think you can do something better than a dummy falling off the building. So we are recasting this evening the Dracula character played by Bela Lugosi. Wayne asked me the other day, "Are we recasting Frankenstein's monster or Dr. Frankenstein?" And
Well, the monster,
I said, you know what? We
right?
never really made a distinction on that. So I said, you know, user's choice. So if you did the monster, great. If you did Dr. Frankenstein, great. I did both of them, just so you know, we have a little bit of everything. The Bride of Frankenstein I threw in there because I was like, we had no female characters, and I felt like we needed to represent the female character. The Mummy, Wolfman, and the Invisible Man we are casting. We are not doing Creature from the Black Lagoon, Phantom of the Opera, or any of like the silent movie Universal monsters, just kind of like the really iconic ones. So like Wayne said earlier when you were describing your show, we're not using any, obviously we're not using any actors from the 30s and 40s. They're all dead now. So we're only using just, you know, modern day actors. And it doesn't necessarily have to apply to the plot of the original Universal films because we are redoing the Dark Universe that they tried to start with the Mummy, Tom Cruise Mummy film, which also starred Russell Crowe as Jekyll and Hyde, because that was supposed to be part of the franchise. If you use
Johnny Depp was in there
Johnny
too,
Depp
wasn't
was
he?
going to be the Invisible Man. They already did the Wolfman film with Benicio del Toro. So I mean, if any of these actors come up again tonight, that's fine. That's a failed movie franchise, so I'm not worried about that. And Wayne, based on your choices for Reservoir Dogs, I know you're not a stickler for cost,
Right.
and how much it would cost to cast actors in these films. So I'm not worried about that either. I'm casting whoever the hell I want to cast for these characters. So
Exactly.
I have to pull up my copy here. Hold on.
I was also thinking of just kind of thinking of these movies initially as standalones. Excuse me, when they first come out. I'm not thinking of an ensemble because we already had the Monster Squad, so you know, just kind of keep it individuals here.
Wolfman's got no
Wolfman's got no. I was going to say at least the Monster Squad really didn't have any notables as the main monster characters, though.
True.
They didn't have any notables in that film at all.
Yeah, didn't the Frankenstein was the guy from Last Action Hero there that with the axe?
That's as noticeable as it gets.
Yeah, that's his actual name.
I think
kind of legally changed it.
The guy that played Dracula was like the dad on some like sitcom or something too.
Oi.
But that's
Oh, no, actually, Wolfman was Uncle Rico.
Oh, that's right. Yes, Wolfman was the actor who plays Uncle Rico. It all comes back to Napoleon Dynamite, Kev.
I told you.
Now that's a wrap, guys.
That's a wrap. We've rounded the mountain. All right. So I guess we'll start with Dracula then. Wayne, as our guest, I would ask you to go first.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, when I was thinking of Dracula, I tried to think what kind of Dracula movie do I want to make, right? And thinking that I really want it to be a horror, but a mild horror. I was actually thinking kind of something similar to Interview with the Vampire, right?
Okay.
But like maybe a little scarier, you know? And so I wanted somebody who was handsome and charming, and you would be believable. He would seduce people because of who he is. And I went with Richard Madden, who is a British actor. He's 36. He was in Rocketman, John Reed. He was in Cinderella. He plays the prince. Eternals, he was Icarus. And in Game of Thrones, he was Robb Stark, the King of the North.
Yeah.
I didn't even
Mhm.
that didn't even dawn on me. I was like, that's a good
Well,
pick. Yeah, I
That's a
like
good
that one.
pick, yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he's handsome enough to be that sort of like debonair vampire.
Mhm.
We know he can play intense from his role in Game of Thrones. Yeah, so I like that pick. Mike, why don't you go next for Dracula?
Okay, I was going for someone that would have the stare that the original Dracula has,
Mhm.
and can play a good bad guy in that kind of role. And I went with Mads Mikkelsen.
Fuck you! You took mine. We don't go over this beforehand, Wayne. Obviously, I don't know if you and Jesse do that or not, but
Yeah, we do. We discussed it beforehand, but sometimes we still end up with the same people.
yeah. So we like to try to surprise each other and see what happens. And obviously, it just happened on the very first one that recasting. Somebody took my thing. So yeah, I picked Mads Mikkelsen for
The
my
intense
my
look you get.
yeah my reasoning was I wanted somebody who was kind of intimidating and had an intense stare, but was
Yep.
also like deceptively charming.
Exactly.
So if you like see him in the James Bond film where he plays the villain, the first one with Daniel Craig.
Casino
What was
Royale.
the first one? Casino Royale. Yeah, like he's got that sort of intense stare, but pretty charismatic. And then if you see when he was on the Hannibal TV series, playing Hannibal Lecter, he was very charming and very like fun to watch, but unbelievably scary. So, and that's kind of why I went with him too. So, Kev, who you got?
I got this.
If you say Mads Mikkelsen, I'm hitting the stop button now, and I'm going to bed.
No. This is a very little known English actor named Robert Patterson.
He already played a vampire that sparkled.
Oh no, that's right. Sparky the
vampires.
vampire. Now, so I guess I was no, that was a joke. I was
Okay, good.
I
thought
think
you
I
were
might have been
serious.
thinking no. I was I mean after Batman he probably could pull it off, you know. No, I'm thinking I was going old. I don't know why I went old as opposed to like young and suave, but I went with Bill Nye,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
from well, Bill Nye, not the science guy, not that
Yeah,
Bill
Bill
Nye,
You
Nye.
mean
you know, the other
the
Bill
guy that
Nye.
played the
Love
vampire?
Actually, Bill Nye, and yeah, he played a vampire in Underworld.
Mhm.
Yeah, in Underworld. Yeah.
The movie we were talking about last
shit.
week. Kate Beckinsale and Leather movie. That one.
I don't remember Kate Beckinsale and Leather.
No, you don't remember that. That's all I remember from that film. That and then,
I struggled with Dracula. I'll
that
be
and,
honest. I
and Bill
struggled with
Nye. He
Dracula.
was the head vampire in that film.
No.
I mean, I like him. I like Bill Nye. If you said like 15 years ago, maybe. I think he's a little old now for it. I think
Okay.
little bit old on the older side.
On the older side.
I think like the Mads Mikkelsen pick that Mike and I had, like he's in his 50s, so he's not super old. He's kind of like a little older than Oldman was when he played it in the 90s. I think Oldman was in his like late 30s.
Okay.
But I like the Rob Stark, Richard Madden pick
No, that was very good.
because if I
yeah.
wanted to go with somebody young who could also play like he's young but playing a character whose age is old. You know, who's been living for a long time. I think he can do it. He had that withered look in Game of Thrones. So
Now, I looked up online a list of these, and of course, Matt wasn't on there, but the number one pick for a lot of them was Tom Hiddleston.
I can see that.
Loki.
That could work.
I can see Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I can see him probably in a number of these roles, except for maybe the Bride.
No, he's a great bride. What are you talking about?
So since Mike stole my pick, I'll do the next one, Frankenstein. Frankenstein, I did both. I did the monster and I did Dr. Frankenstein as well. And I was thinking about like if I were going to film this film, how would I do it? And I kind of went, even though the Kenneth Branagh one with De Niro as the monster is campy, it is kind of fun to watch. And I like the idea of using the book version of the monster where he can actually communicate, you know, where he learns to talk and he's still menacing, but also shows some sort of rare intelligence too. As fun as the Boris Karloff performance was, it was kind of like that people get the impression that the monster is just all grunts and growls, and really, the actual monster was not always like that. So I decided I wanted somebody who could be intimidating, but also be kind of like, you can see that there's some beauty to the guy's look, even though he's disfigured and scarred and everything. And I wanted somebody who can be who can talk in a very intimidating way, but also in a way where you might not be able to understand him.
Peter Boyle.
So I went with Tom Hardy. I went with Bane.
Okay.
I figure he's.
You have created me, but I am just a potter of the dark. I was born in port. You must make me a bride.
Yeah, so I went with him because I thought of Bane first, but then he was also in Peaky Blinders, and he played a very kind of scrappy character in that show. I love him in Inception. I thought he was very debonair in that film. It's kind of different way of seeing him, but he's also somebody who could really play the hell out of intimidating. So if you see a movie like Legend, where he plays the Cray twins, the one was out of his mind, insane. So he can play that sort of role. And even though the film sucked, he was fun to watch playing Al Capone. So, Kev, you threw your hands up in the air. Did you have Tom Hardy for the monster too?
I have Tom Hardy on my list, but not for the monster.
Okay,
no.
so
I was going.
I was going to say I have the doctor as well, so I'll give you my doctor real quick.
Oh, go ahead. Give me your doctor.
I gave Dr. Frankenstein to this actor because he even though we said we're not picking somebody who played it before on film, he played it on stage, so I kind of used that as my cheat code. Benedict Cumberbatch as the doctor, because he had played it on stage with Johnny Lee Miller.
Cool.
And actually, it was an interesting stage production because on one night he would play the monster and Johnny Lee Miller would play the doctor. And on the next night, they would switch roles. So every other night, if you went to see the performance, the two actors were switching between the doctor and the monster. It was kind of interesting. So go ahead, Kev. You can talk now.
Thank you. So I was sticking with the. I mean, I wasn't making it my own. I guess I was taking what the movie was and superimposing actors from today. And this one, I didn't want to go with somebody really well known, but I wanted somebody huge, menacing and huge. And I thought, who could be more menacing and huge than the Mountain himself, Hofbor Julius Borgeson, the Mountain from Game of Thrones.
So another Game of Thrones actor, yes.
Yes, the Mountain, the man, the Mountain.
That being said, you could have went with the Hound too.
Yeah,
I could have, but he wasn't nearly as big. He was the puny little one.
But he has that intimidating
I wanted
look to him.
big.
You can make him look big on screen.
He does.
They made the Hobbits look small.
But I mean,
no, that's a cool one though.
no, I think this one. I mean, he will be the monster that grunts. He will be the monster that lumbers along.
He kind of did that in Game of Thrones already in that last season.
Yeah,
a little bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, if you're going with the monster that doesn't talk, and that's because I don't think the Mountain really had that many lines in the show.
Mm-hmm.
That you didn't do the doctor, right? You just did the monster.
I did not.
Okay, that's fine. Mike, why don't you go next?
So I kind of didn't mind like yours, Lee. I went with somebody that could be menacing and big, but also had that tender side. Especially in the black and white, they showed the monster has kind of a tender side.
So he throws a little girl in the lake.
Yeah. Well, he started off tender.
After he ripped her arms off because she was pulling the pedals away.
So I went with somebody who's played a character that's menacing, but also soft. I went Ron Perlman.
No, Ron Perlman at this point in his life too is starting to look more like Boris Karloff without the makeup and the prosthetics and everything. That's an interesting.
I feel like his jaw just keeps getting bigger.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like like Boris Karloff, naturally had this very square look, and Ron Perlman is the older he gets, the more square his head gets.
His jaw keeps falling down, and it drags the top of his his head, which brings the brow down
Yeah,
too.
he's
So
like
he's really got that
slowly,
Neanderthal
slowly
look.
turning into a Neanderthal.
Mhm.
So Wayne, what do you got?
Yeah, I also did the Doctor and the Monster.
Okay.
And so for me with the Doctor, I was trying to think of somebody who would be somewhat, elegant, eloquent as well, and somebody who would be a professor who would be believable as a doctor. And I went with who is reportedly going to play Doctor Doom in the new Fantastic Four movie, and that is Ryan Gosling. I think would be a good Dr. Frankenstein. And then for the monster, I also had the Mountain as well. So it was a pretty easy pick. He's 6'9", 335.
Wow.
Ryan Gosling and Doctor Doom. I had read that he was interested in playing Ghost Rider.
Yeah, he said he wanted to play Ghost Rider, and then I'd read a report that was leaked that a post-credit scene for Wakanda Forever is going to be Doctor Doom, and it's Ryan Gosling as Doctor Doom.
Interesting.
Oh wow.
That's interesting. Because I know they had also talked about possibly Keanu Reeves for Ghost Rider as well. So maybe
And
that's what they
Giancarlo
went
Esposito
Whoa.
wants to get in on it too.
Giancarlo Esposito. So the next one we have here is the Bride of Frankenstein, which I said is a very small role in the film, but I felt like we needed some sort of female representation here, and she's the only like real female, horror movie character from the Universal library. So let's see. I went first. Wayne went first. So Mike, why don't you go first on this one?
So I went with someone that could do that iconic scream look that you see right there. So I went with Kate Blanchett.
Okay.
She has that dark look. She have that dark look, especially after she played Hela.
I know I said I wasn't going to talk about budget.
Hey,
she is
no
a
budget.
high price actress for a 4-minute scene.
Hey, it's all about the bride.
Ooh, that's nice.
So Kevin has moved on to a new drink.
I have. Pardon this interruption. I am now drinking How Now Brown Cow milk stout brewed with pumpkin spice.
Oh, that's one Mike had last week.
From Aslan Beer Company. Yeah, man, that's got flavor. 6% alcohol by volume. Where's this from, Mike? Alexandria, Virginia.
Yep. Right outside
Nice.
Alexandria, I think.
Ooh,
No, that is
that's tasty.
You gave me one of those, right? Because I haven't tried it yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hope I have another one of these.
You do. Kev, you
They
have
are
two
very
of
good.
those.
Sorry.
Leo, you have two of the Honor Oktoberfests.
Okay, cool. So Kev, who did you do for the bride?
Did I interrupt, Mike? Mike, were you done? I'm sorry, man.
Mike had Kate Blanchett.
I did Kate Blanchett.
Okay, I didn't want to interrupt you. Wow, that's a good beer. Okay. So I have to say, Helena Bonham Carter, when she as she was cast in the Kenneth Branagh Frankenstein, actually I thought was amazing. And that would have been a good pick if she wasn't, decrepit right now. So I figured I'm going to kind of go in that direction and pull somebody who's an up and coming.
Okay.
Olivia Cook.
So she is in House of the Dragon right now, playing Alice
you're
in
right.
Hightower.
She was in Thoroughbred.
She was in Ready Player One.
Ready Player One. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that.
I think she has the look.
Mhm.
You just get the hair with the the thing going on, and yeah.
Okay, no, I like that one. I like it because I think she's a beautiful actress too. Kind of works.
Mm-hmm.
Wayne, what do you got going on for the bride?
Yeah, I'll say as far as Helena Bonham Carter goes, watching Harry Potter, which we watch 4 to 5 times a year, all of them, is when I see her as Bellatrix, I always think, for some reason, she's just so hot to me. And I think I have a thing for crazy girls.
I feel the same way when I watch her in Fight Club.
For me, like you said, this is a small role. It's 5 minutes on screen. She just has to be like, "Oh my God, I'm not attracted to you, Frankenstein," and then that's kind of like all we're going to see her. But I really wanted somebody who, when I think, I don't know why, I think of just length. When I think of somebody like her, as we got the Mountain who's 6'9", nobody's going to be 6'9". We're not casting Brittany Griner here, but I'm trying to think of somebody who's long and attractive for Frankenstein's bride, and I went with Nicole Kidman.
She could use the work right now.
See that? Yeah.
That's so we got Nicole Kidman, Olivia Cook, and what did you say, Mike? You had
Kate Blanchett.
Kate Blanchett. So for mine, this is the only like real like outside the box one I think I have.
Kate Beckinsale.
No, I was really like I was actually kind of struggling with it a little bit, and I was like, I put it on there for the female factor, and then I was like, shit, I don't know who to pick for this one. So I picked somebody that started out as kind of a comedic actress, but has transitioned over to some more dramatic roles recently, who has an interesting look. She's pretty, but also kind of awkward looking at the same time. And she's probably, for you guys, most recently known as playing Agatha in WandaVision. So I went with Catherine Hahn.
Wow. Okay.
I thought you were going to say Kristen
I
Wiig.
thought you were going to say Aubrey Plaza.
Aubrey Plaza's a good one too. I love Aubrey Plaza. Talk about crazy chicks.
Yeah.
Aubrey Plaza. And who did you say, Wayne?
Kristen Wiig.
Kristen Wiig. That's been an interesting one, I think. I feel like some actresses would be too comedic in it. I've seen Catherine Hahn in a couple dramatic roles recently that make me think she could pull it off.
Well, Kristen Wiig was she's the one in Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah, she was the tigress or whatever the fuck
She
her name
was
was. Cheetah?
Cheetah?
I have no idea. I didn't watch it.
Okay.
I couldn't bring myself to watch it. The next one we have on here is The Mummy. This one I kind of feel like I was profiling a little bit when I
Oh shit! You and I have.
I don't know if we do. I struggled. I actually had like 3, and then narrowed it down to 2, and I was like, no, I got to go with this one because I feel like the other one's either going to be picked or it's just too on the nose. So, we'll start with Wayne because he's the only one not complaining right now. So, he screwed up Mummy.
When you guys are talking about typecast and you're worried about having the same one, I'm like, oh, you didn't cast the Mummy from Night at the Museum, did you? So
yes.
So I went with obviously I think you have to kind of typecast a little bit because it's a mummy. I mean, there's no American mummies, so you got to kind of take that into consideration. I went with a guy, Ali Suleiman, who was in Jack Ryan season 2. He plays Suleiman, the terrorist that he's trying to catch. He's also in 200 Meters, Paradise New, Huda Salon. So a lot of smaller stuff, but he's phenomenal. If you've seen the Jack Ryan, I mean, he's amazing. And I think he'd be a really good Emotep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with who he is. I haven't watched the Jack Ryan series, so I have to IMDb him to see. Mike, who do you have?
Well, I didn't typecast. I wanted somebody that could be dark and sinister, but also kind of
Egyptian?
Not really Egyptian. He's nowhere near Egyptian because I went with Ralph Fiennes.
Ralph Fiennes? Okay.
Yeah.
I actually saw his name on a site recently. I was kind of like researching this a little bit, and I saw a site where they suggested that he could play a good mummy character. He has like a look, I think, that you can kind of like pretend he's Egyptian. I guess I don't know. I mean, he played a man with no nose.
He's like Voldemort.
Yeah. So
mummies have no nose.
Mummies have no nose. Yeah, I went with. So my original pick was going to be Oscar Isaac, and I was like, no, he just played Moon Knight, so that's like too on the nose to pick him to be the mummy. So I went with another actor who I really like. He was great in The Sound of Metal, for which he got an Oscar nomination. He was in Rogue One. He was the pilot that pilots the Rogue One ship, and that's Riz Ahmed.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's a fantastic choice. Actually, I cast him to play Hans Gruber in our Die Hard recasting.
I was listening to your Reservoir Dogs episode recently, and you had mentioned that you had recasted him in Die Hard because you were was it you or was it somebody was saying they were always trying to get Dev Patel into a show?
Oh, I always am. Yeah,
it's you. You're always trying to get Dev Patel into something, and he was the other guy I thought of. I was like. Either Dev Patel, Oscar Isaac, or Riz Ahmed. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go with Riz Ahmed because I think he's a fantastic actor. So,
yeah, that's a home run.
Yeah. So, Kev, who do you got?
All right. So I'm the guy that chose Rami Malek.
Rami Malek. He was my fourth choice.
I forgot he was in Night at the Museum. I was remembering him from Mr. Robot. I was remembering him from Bohemian Rhapsody. I completely forgot that he was the Mummy. And
But you have to think about it, though. I mean, the character he plays in Night at the Museum was a comedic character.
yeah,
It was his first movie. I mean, he wasn't known at all yet. So I mean, like, this would be a different role because it's dramatic and all that. He is an Egyptian actor, so he does fit the the character mold for it. He was like far down my list just because of the Amun Ra character.
Typecasting.
Yeah, like I didn't want to do that, but so that's why I decided to go with Riz Ahmed. The next one.
My
is,
second choice was.
Oh, go ahead. Your second choice.
I was just going to say my second choice is going to be Peter Billingsley.
Peter Billingsley.
But I don't think that. Yeah.
Ralphie.
Ralphie.
Yeah.
Blonde-haired, blue-eyed mummy. He's got like the lightest blue eyes in the world, man.
He'd make a good Dracula. You could stare into those eyes forever.
Peter Billingsley. He could come out of his coffin in a pink rabbit costume.
Gentlemen, I'm moving on.
All right, what we got?
From Allison Brewing Beer Company, the No Backseas Hefeweizen, 5.5 alcohol by volume.
Nice.
I'm moving on to my fourth glass of the Devil's. I don't even remember what the fuck this is called now.
There you go.
Jersey Devil.
It's getting there, guys.
Devil's Backwoods.
I'm almost there.
Yeah, we're
Devil's
not even
Backdoor.
finished with this yet.
I have to get up and go to work tomorrow. Yay.
Yay!
All right. Next one on the list we have is Wolfman, who has Nards. So for the Wolfman, I'll go first on this one. I said that so I think the Wolfman movie that they did with Benicio del Toro, I'm not sure if that was supposed to be part of the Dark Universe or not, because I think it came out before The Mummy, and The Mummy was supposed to be the start of it. I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure. I was excited about it because I like Benicio del Toro, and I thought he looks like a wolf already, so I thought it fit. And I think Anthony Hopkins was in the film as well. I was like, this has got to be pretty good. And then I watched it, and I was like, this is the most boring slog of shit I have watched in a long time. So I was like, that being said, I'm not going to use Benicio del Toro, obviously, for this. So for my Wolfman, I went with another slightly wolfish-looking guy, Javier Bardem. Probably best known as Anton Chigurh in No Country for Old Men, where he plays a very menacing character. But he's also, fairly handsome as well when he's not playing a guy with a Dutch boy haircut. Yeah. So I thought he'd be good at playing somebody who's, because the Wolfman's sort of a sympathetic character because he knows that he's, a murderous creature when he turns into the wolf, and so he's, suffering from this. What's the word they used last week on IMDb? Oh, lycanthropy.
Lycanthropy.
So, Wayne, you were shaking your head. You didn't like my pick?
No, that was fine. That was a fine pick. I was looking at. I kept looking down at.
I'm nervous doing this with you because I listen to your show a lot, and I'm like, you guys kind of know what you're talking about. So,
no, that's a fine pick. Not as good as Riz Ahmed. Riz Ahmed is really great.
Riz Ahmed's that's probably my best one. I agree. That's probably my best one. But what do you have for yours?
Yeah, so for mine, like you said, with Wolfman, it's a guy who's a regular guy, and he's struggling with that. I'm a good person, but I do these bad things because I'm cursed. And I kind of was thinking also of the movie like Wolf with Jack Nicholson, kind of like that, how he struggles with that. And I went with an actor who actually, for the first 2/3 of his career so far, I hated. And I said, anything that he's in, I will never watch, and I will totally go against. And then the last probably 5 or 6 movies this guy has done, he has been absolutely outstanding. And that is Colin Farrell. When he was in SWAT and Daredevil, I was like, this guy is the biggest piece of crap actor ever. And then starting with Saving Mr. Banks, he was amazing in that. I thought he could have been nominated for Best Supporting Actor in that. And then, The Gentleman, if you haven't seen The Gentleman, it's
Gentleman's
amazing.
great. I think he's the best. He's the best part of The Gentleman. I love the coach character.
Yeah, so good. So he's my Wolfman. I think that he'd be a really good kind of sympathetic guy that you'd feel bad for.
I think with
Wayne, for your introduction, I thought you were going to say Adam Sandler. I really did.
No.
I thought you were going to go in the direction of
I would
Adam
have blew
Sandler.
that one out the door.
Mike would have logged off and walked away. He hates Adam Sandler.
This is not amateur hour. This is
Yeah, when you said comfort, like I'm thinking like early in his career, for some reason he was trying to be like mainstream. And so he did like ridiculous movies like Daredevil and shit like that. And then I think when he realized that he was better in smaller sort of art house indie films and better as like a character actor in supporting roles is where he really kind of grew as an actor. So I think he kind of started with like In Bruges because he's excellent in Bruges. And then when I saw him in The Gentleman, I'm like, I want him to play that character in every fucking movie he's ever in for the rest of his life because the coach character was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I made a film. Decided to get myself in the film business. So I like that pick. I like Colin Farrell. Yeah. Kev, what do you got going on for the Wolf Man?
So you guys picked a down to earth actor, and I thought more of who can transform into a wolf. And I thought, I mean, the actor I think that could do the best transformation if he didn't use CGI, if you were doing like what they did with the prosthetics and stuff, you could really make a decent Wolfman out of Jason Momoa.
I kind of like that one.
You know,
like
I mean, he's not doesn't have that quaint sense to him, but I mean, he could downplay it a bit. But I mean, if you're thinking like really beasting out, that would be Jason Momoa.
Okay, I have to look something up to tell you about. So, Mike, why don't you go while I'm looking this up?
So I went with the guy who could play the guy that hates being the werewolf, is suffering, but also when he is the wolf, he has that crazy animalistic look. David Tennant.
I actually thought of David Tennant for Dracula and Dr. Frankenstein as well. And I don't know if you know this, Mike. Spoiler alert, because you watch Doctor Who as well.
I saw the spoiler at the end, the transformation.
Yeah, the
spoiler.
The 14th Doctor is David Tennant's 10th Doctor all over again.
Though, did you see what I sent you? It's going to be on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I know. So I'm worried about where that's going from here. So I'm looking up something, Kev. I know I'm probably not going to be able to find it now. Jason Momoa was in a movie where he played a werewolf, and it was very, very early in his career. And
Kevin,
I just no luck.
Oh, here it is. The movie is called Wolves. Very, very creative title. But I want to show you the picture of what Momoa looks like as a werewolf. I got to find it real quick.
All right.
Hold on. So talk among yourselves. The Holy Roman Empire was neither holy nor Roman nor an empire.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. No.
Oh, here I got it. Let me bring this picture up.
How about them Phillies?
How about them Phillies?
All right, here he is. All right, I'm gonna share my screen with you real quick so I can show you this. So Jason Momoa in 2014 was in a film called Wolves that has like a 4.2 on IMDb, and that's what he looked like. Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
That is your Jason Momoa Wolfman. So,
all right.
Who's to say he can't play it again?
There you go. So I know he can play it.
There you go. So we come to our last recasting character, and that is the Invisible Man. And this was a weird one to me because I'm like, you got to cast an actor who's not going to be seen on screen for like a good portion of the film. So do you cast somebody who's handsome? Or do you cast somebody that you don't care if they disappear? Do you cast somebody with a voice that's very recognizable, or do you cast somebody who's just a good actor who can make the performance work? So
I think the voice has got to be a big part of it. It's got to be
Mhm.
menacing. It's got to be.
I
I
agree.
mean, he's insane. Even from the very beginning, he's insane. So he's got to be able to pull off insane. You
Yeah.
know,
And you can't
just the voice,
you
but
can't
it doesn't
choose,
hurt if he's also,
well, you can't choose
So-
Kevin
doesn't hurt
Bacon.
if he's also attractive.
No
Well,
Kevin Bacon.
See, I also think you don't have to use the person you're gonna see eventually doesn't have to be the same person that has the voice you need for the Visible Man.
Hmm.
So I picked a voice actor.
All right, so go ahead and give me yours then.
I went with Matt Mercer
And he is,
from Critical Role. He's a voice actor.
so he's the guy from Vox Machina on Amazon,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
he
Okay.
does all sorts of voices. He can be menacing. He's a great voice actor. So let's do a voice actor for this part.
But you do got to see him on screen for a little bit. So I mean, that's the thing. Can he pull off like an acting role where you see him for a little bit?
Well, you don't have to have him as the role. You just have to see a guy.
Yeah.
Any actor can play the part.
Okay. So you want say like you can have somebody kind of dub over a little bit.
Yes.
Okay. Kev, who do you got?
Well, I'm surprised you didn't narrow it down, seeing as how I had the same pick as you, just not for the same character. So this is Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy is the Invisible Man.
So you want somebody who's very hard to understand normally. Carbon principle. You live in the dark.
I'm going to kill everyone.
You can't even see
can't
me in the
see
light. So Wayne, who you got for the Invisible Man?
Yeah, I like the Tom Hardy pick, by the way, and I think that he's actually my favorite character in Peaky Blinders. I think he's unbelievable. But I will say that when I was looking at it, I wanted to have my character have a little bit more screen time where he's not invisible. And even after he turns invisible, maybe you get some flashbacks to when he was visible and what his life was like before. And I went with Lakeith Stanfield. He's a guy who was in Sorry to Bother You. The Harder They Fall, he was the best character in that movie as the quick draw guy. Judas and the Black Messiah. Really, really good actor. Kind of quirky, so he can kind of play a little bit crazy. And I think he can pull off all the scenes where he has to be visible.
Okay, that's cool, man. I didn't even think. I didn't even go racially diverse. That's I kind of feel bad now that I didn't do that. I went with same thing. I wanted a guy who, when you see him, you're like, that's a pretty good looking guy. That's a handsome guy. That's somebody whose face I want to see on screen. But then when he turns invisible, it's like, okay, when's he coming back? Maybe you do the flashback scenes or whatever. And somebody I think is a pretty good actor regardless. So I went with Chris Pine, probably right now best known as Captain Kirk in the new Star Trek films, but has done some other, varying roles out there as well. So
I thought he was most known for being Harry Styles' spit target.
Yeah, right. Recently, yeah. I don't know. Like the only thing I was kind of unsure about with him though was the voice part of it. So when it's only his voice, but I feel like his voice isn't distinct, but it's unique, and it would I think carry well in those scenes where you're only hearing him. It's got to be better than Chevy Chase in the Memoirs of the Invisible Man. So that brings us to the end of this list. Now, I did a little bonus casting for some other little side characters. So I'll let you guys hear what I have, and you can tell me what you think. I decided to do some bonus casting for Renfield, who is the guy that becomes the servant of Dracula in the Dracula films. I did Von Helsing. Mina Harker, who was Dracula's, and Jonathan Harker's love interest in Dracula, and Igor / Fritz, as he's known in the original Frankenstein film. He's not Igor; his name is Fritz.
You sure it's not Igor?
It becomes Igor in the Bride of Frankenstein. The original guy's name was Fritz. He was a hunchback as well, but
wasn't Renfield and Igor the same actor?
I think it was. I believe it was. I believe it was the
so,
same
yeah.
actor.
Yeah.
So I did for Renfield. Originally, I was going to pick Ethan Hawke. I thought he can play like a pretty strange, whacked out character, especially after seeing him in Black Phone. But then I decided, you know what? I want to go
Excuse me.
really outside the box. I want to go with an actor who can play a strung out character like that, desperately wanting to become a vampire himself, but for obvious reasons will never become a vampire. So I went with Peter Dinklage as Renfield. Because I don't know if I've ever seen a dwarf vampire before. I'd love to.
I thought you were going to say Daniel Radcliffe.
Daniel Radcliffe. Yeah. Oh, No, he was what? He was Igor in the Victor
He was
Frankenstein
Frankenstein,
movie.
wasn't he? Oh.
No, it was what's his name?
Oh, I
James,
thought
James
you were-
McAvoy was Frankenstein.
Actually, I thought you were going to talk. Oh, we're going to say the actor that played Klaus.
Yeah, I like Klaus.
Pretty much strung out.
For Von Helsing, I decided I wanted to go somebody who was an older actor but who can handle action scenes. So I went with Liam Neeson because I'm like, why not?
Mm-hmm.
For Mina Harker, I went with Emma Stone because I have to cast her in everything.
Yes, you do.
I love Emma Stone. And
She'd make a better Lucy with the red hair.
yeah, maybe. And then for Igor, I went with Rorschach himself, Jackie Earl Haley.
Freddy Krueger.
Freddy Krueger, yeah, the new Freddy Krueger. So I just decided to have a little bit of fun there with some of those like outside characters. So Kev, you'll be happy to know there's a new movie coming out called Renfield, which follows the story of Dracula's servant Renfield. Renfield, I forgot who's playing the actor. I got to look it up. But Dracula is being played by Nicolas Cage.
Wonderful. Simply wonderful. I'm
Nicolas
looking at this
Cage.
now. Look at that picture.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage is Kevin's favorite actor.
Is that Tom Waits? Wasn't Tom Waits Renfield before?
Yeah, Tom
Is that
Tom Waits was
playing
Renfield in the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula film. So Renfield is Nicholas Hoult, who is he played
Okay.
Beast,
Oh yeah.
played Beast in
He's
the
Beastman.
in the X-Men
Beast.
films. Yeah.
Okay.
Jack the Giant Slayer.
Jack the Giant Slayer.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
then Nicolas Cage is Dracula. Oh God.
Interesting.
When does this take place? Because there's a actress listed as cheerleader number 1. This looks like it's a modern day film. I'm looking
I
at
think
this
I think
picture
it
of Nick Cage as Dracula wearing a Elvis Costello shirt. Oh my God, this looks like a fucking train wreck in the making here. Oh Jesus.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, Tom Waits is probably the best Renfield.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite parts of that film. So we have anything else to say? You got our Universal monsters? Any
I did have a bonus one that I had thought in my mind when you were talking about the creature of the Black Lagoon,
Mhm.
right? And I was thinking it would probably majority CGI, and I think Andy Serkis would be great at that.
Oh yeah, you know what? I didn't even think of that. We said Doug Jones because he's played Abe Sapien in the Hellboy films, and he was the creature in Shape of Water. So he's played that half man, half fish character using the prosthetics and all that stuff already. But yeah, if you're going to go like with a motion capture performance, yeah, Andy Serkis.
Oh my
Though
God of
Sly
motion
Stallone
capture.
did an excellent job as the King Shark.
Who?
Sly Stallone did a
Sly
great job.
Stallone was
as
the
King
voice
Shark.
of King Shark. He wasn't the mocap. You know who the mocap was? The big guy that worked in the control center with Amanda Waller. He was like a real big fat guy with like a patchy beard.
Oh yeah.
He was the body double. He was the mocap guy for King Shark. Sly Stallone only did the voice work.
Oh, you took that joke and really just kind of let it fizzle
Yes, he did.
I
What happened when you get
All
through a
right,
drink?
You know, I
I'm
can't-
going to put you in your place.
so here's
right
the thing:
now.
I can never tell when you're joking. Even though I've known you for 20-something years now, I can never tell when you're joking.
I know.
And you know that I have such a vast knowledge of useless movie
Yes.
trivia that I'm going to correct you when you're joking.
You know the guy who played the key grip on Ladybugs.
I have more.
That guy. He was the motion
I
capture.
have more knowledge about the catering than I do the key grip stuff. So
And I'll just sit here and just shake my head.
yeah, Mike just doesn't know what to think half the time. So
I
so
think
yeah,
Ladybugs is one of my favorite movie quotes of all time, which is I made my was it nephew or my daughter, my girlfriend's son dress up like a girl and play with me.
no, I like when he opens up the trunk door and he goes, "All I know is I got a lot of balls." Rodney Dangerfield is one of my heroes. I love Rodney Dangerfield. So anyway, guys, you have any final things to say about your drinks tonight?
Yeah.
good.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
You're making me want to try it, but I'm already like,
Man.
3/4 of the way into this wine bottle. I don't think I should.
And look, typically it's the higher the ABV, the more flavorful the beer. And this is resting at an even 6, and I'm surprised there's so much flavor for 6%.
I got a little.
I was expecting 8 or 9.
I got a little bit of this wine left. I'm thinking of saving it for when you guys come over Saturday night. Letting you try this shit. Mike, what do you got to say about your drinks?
Very good, both of them.
That
Half-egg. I love half-egg bio. It's German style beer, Come on.
So, Wayne, what do you got to say about your Coke with a dash of zero?
Well, I will say this: if you're looking for a cola with 0 calories, but you don't like the dry taste of Diet Coke, Coke Zero has a nice sweet taste, but not overpowering like regular Coke.
Coke, not an official sponsor of Films and Fermentation.
Neither are any of these breweries.
No.
Mike, you have any beer wisdom for us this evening?
I do. Something bad, even epic, is about to happen when someone says, "Hey, hold my beer and watch this."
Been there, done that.
Got the T-shirt.
So
Twice.
thank you for joining us this evening for episode 81, the Halloween special, where we talked all about the Universal movie monsters. We hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it for you. Remember, you can reach us at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links. Guys, I hope you don't mind, but I already decided next week's topic because I've been really wanting to do this episode for a while. So next week, episode 82, is going to be Best Ensemble Films. I just watched Ocean's 11 again recently, and I thought, yeah, I definitely want to do this episode soon. So we're going to do some.
That ought to depend upon if the final World Series game or the
So
the Eagles are playing.
Mike needs to talk to us about this, Kev, because we got the Eagles game on Thursday and the World Series all week. So I don't know if we're going to be recording next week or not. We'll have to see what happens. Or we record early or something if we can before the game starts. So don't forget to stop by the crossroads between Pickled and Fermented, hopefully next week, as we present episode 82, Best Ensembles. Thank you again for joining us for episode 81. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
And thanks again to tonight's special guest, Wayne G. from Recasted 2.0.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you. It
me.
was a blast.
Yeah, this was fun, man. I'm really happy you came on. I'm excited.
Yeah, thank you.
We're really trying to get some more guests on the show once in a while. It's fun when we have somebody else come on the show and give us their opinion. And like I said, I was a little nervous tonight because I listened to your show a lot, and I'm like, yeah, these guys take this recasting shit seriously, and I didn't want to disappoint. So my Riz Ahmed home run really warmed my heart. So so thanks again for coming on tonight, man.
Thank you.
Everybody, make sure you join us again. We had fun. Hope you had fun. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.